Wow, so this turned out to be one of the biggest episodes of Attack on Titan. Not in terms of action, in intensity, because we got that for most of this season 3 part 2. But we needed episodes like this where it kind of highlights what the hell's going on. The truth, finally revealed. The secret is in the basement thanks to Grisha, and now Eric has found this truth. And more importantly, so have we, and we got some well-needed answers to a lot of questions we've been having for years. And because of that, it turns out to be one of the biggest revelations in Attack on Titan of the series. Because what the truth is, man, there are monsters on both sides, on the human side and on the Titan side, and it goes back years, decades, centuries ago with I guess, the people of Ymir who became the Titan force, I believe. So the pretty much became an army of Titans. It would end up becoming a Titan war, and that legacy was passed on to the people alongside Grisha and company because they were because Grisha was like believing in their cause. So because of that, they're kind of ostracized. They're kind of ostracized. They were ostracized from the get go because of this belief, not knowing it would lead to so many tragic events for Grisha. I mean, man, you can pinpoint any moment in this episode as being the most tragic of the series. But the main focus here is on Faye and Grisha and pretty much their fate because of the Titans they got involved with. And like I said, the monsters on both sides, humans as looking to protect themselves, but in the same way, also as it was previously established by one of the I guess prison guards who maintained surveillance over that, I believe earlier, and Maria. They're not supposed to be there without identification, so they got found out pretty quickly, and because of that, they got dealt with, which led to savagery. It's typical Attack on Titan, but this, I don't know why it just hit me harder. You knew the sister was going to have something terrible was going to happen. Didn't take us long to find out what that was. She got mugged. Grisha was like, "Yo, this is my idea to come see the Zeppelins, the blimps." So, and obviously, this is a take on Germany, pretty much the West Germany. So you can see that you can see the similarities right off from the get go. But he wanted to take the punishment for his decision to go see the blimps. They got found out, but they both ended up paying the price. Grisha got the hell beaten out of him, and it kind of reminded what happened with Levi. Kicking, the similarities are there. When it comes to Eren getting beat the fuck out of by by Levi in the courtroom during trial, and Grisha obviously trying to do the same thing to make sure that nothing happens to his sister, which is what an older brother technically should do. However, this didn't make a difference because she gets this one chubby guard who ended up becoming the asshole of the episode, pretty much. He assists, or it appears he's assisting Faye out of the area, but what really happens is they come find out she's technically she's found dead because she got mugged basically by hounds. She got eaten alive. It was brutal, and you see the blank stare on Grisha's face pretty much may summarize what the fandom of Attack on Titan thought after seeing this episode, because it's so poetic. Like, oh man, you can make the argument that the Titans have done some terrible, heinous stuff, but the fact of the matter is, the humans created the Titans in the first place. So, what really happened in centuries ago before Grisha's time is kind of a mystery. We don't know. We just know they ended up becoming a clan of Titans and took up on a war. So that part's still a mystery to us, but we do know it was kind of revered through the ages, and because of that, it's been felt to this day. So Faye's dead, and the parents, well, a mother's grieving, obviously, more sympathetic. The father, kind of like a douche, because he's scared of not wanting to reveal the truth. The guards knew. He's trying to cover his tracks, like he fell asleep, but that was complete BS. Christian knew it, and he's going to speak up, because of, I guess, the father not wanting to cause any more trouble, they said, don't say anything. So it becomes a mess. So, and this one emotional outburst, like, it's a crime to go out to experience paradise, to walk out. It's kind of like it's a crime just to have free will and to walk around in these parts without being penalized for it. So, and ultimately, Fate ended up getting killed, and Grisha obviously lives with that grief. But the problem is, he's either blaming himself or he's blaming the government. Are they at fault or am I at fault? So there's the internal struggle right there. So obviously, he's made a lot of mistakes. That's obvious. So later on, as time goes on, there's obviously a time skip when he gets older. He's still getting beaten up, and he's actually trying to cause a revolt by, I guess, recruiting other people as willing to take on the fight. And he comes to find out a member of the royal bloodline, and by the name of Dina, ends up joining the cause as well, and ends up being the first love interest for Grisha. And this is where the truth really kicks in, because they already had a child, and turns out that child was Zeki. So obviously manga readers knew this. I didn't know this up until this point, so that was a reveal, and it makes sense given the conversation they had a couple episodes ago with Eren and Zeki, when he pretty much states, you should not trust Grisha, because I'm a Titan like you because of Grisha. So that's how he abandoned me, which is not true at all, because we kind of know what the truth is. But man, there's just a lot to go over. But Zeki turns out to be a legitimate child of Grisha Yaeger, and pretty much as time passed on, obviously we know he married Carla, and they obviously end up having Eren. So there you go. So there's two lost brothers of two different families, technically related by blood. So that's the revelation. The second revelation is the fact that when they were trying to lead the revolt, obviously Grisha and Dina, they were hell-bent on changing the system, because if they didn't, then Elia would have been destroyed. So they needed to do something, and unfortunately they tried to use Zeki as an instrument, maybe as a Titan. They don't really get that far, because he rats them out to the guards, and the government treat them pretty much criminally, for no better term. But it just becomes a mess. Zeki betrays them, and he was learning all the details. Grisha learned the same thing about how to become a Titan, what the Titan assists of, the history, the lineage, all that stuff. It's not really something you should imply onto your son. But the same thing happened to Grisha, so he's reliving these mistakes because he's desperate to change the system and change humanity. Obviously not for the better, though. And when they get found out, obviously the parents pay the price. The rebels pay the price. Some of them get turned into Titans. They all get turned into Titans, apart from a few. And it becomes a game of fetch or a game of tag, because they get turned into Titans, and Grisha's forced to watch all of this. He doesn't get turned into a Titan. There's two guards. Obviously, the chubby one that caused the cause of death for the sister of Grisha, and then there's the other guard who's pretty much stoic. He was the one that beat the hell out of Grisha at the beginning of the episode, but he ends up actually allowing them to see the blip. You knew this was a special episode because they didn't even have the opening in an episode. So it turns out to be very influential, because as time marches on, he kind of remembers the two guards from what happened back then, 15 years prior. So and he doesn't really say a whole much. He's very stoic, but obviously the other guard, he's full of crap, and and Grisha knows this, that he's the reason his sister's dead, and he's the one injecting these people with the spinal fluid to make them Titans. So what we got is we got another friend of Grisha, I guess you would call it best friend, although he technically kind of like, he kind of soured when he realized they got caught. Why did I go through this? Why did he took me through it? It was foolish, but and Grisha tries to apologize, but that's not going to do him any good. And the moment I saw him, I thought, wait, is that Reiner? So it's an older version of Reiner. So that could be his dad. I don't know, but it looks like Reiner. So he doesn't get turned into a Titan. Instead, they throw him off the top of the wall. And we've seen this before in Ymir's flashback when she was injected as a Titan. We saw the brutality, so we know what the humans are capable of. So they sent him down to the top of off the top of the wall. Don't know how he survived that, by the way. But either way, I guess he rolled down a hill, technically. So he tries to run away, and the guard's like, yo, if you try to escape, now's your chance to escape, because once they get turned into Titans, they're going to eat you alive. So Grisha's forced to watch this. And on top of that, if that wasn't bad enough, they bring on the wife, Dina, who ends up becoming a Titan. And she said, no matter what, I will find you, Grisha. So she never held that against Grisha, even when she got turned into a Titan. But the revelation of what that Titan's appearance turned out to be is the very Titan that ate Carla, Yaeger, the mother of Eren. And when you piece the whole things together, it makes sense, because at that point, we actually saw Eren wake up, and that's where he screamed out, because he's reliving his father's memories through his dreams, it would appear. So he's obviously seen the truth from reading the diary or the notebook. So, boy, it becomes an interesting parallel when you consider everything that took place at the start of the series, now everything that we know. So Dina turned out to be the very reason that Eren went through a living hell, because his mother got killed, not knowing who that was. And we know Eren was, being the coordinator, got his revenge in the end of season 2, but it's bittersweet because now we know the truth. So, and when you technically think about it, what was Grisha's reason for disappearing in the first place? We still haven't found that out. We know he injected Eren and he just disappeared. So, could it be he knew what was going to happen? But either way, Dina comes searching into Eren's village. Now, my question is this: did she know? Because she obviously had a memory. I don't know if she has had her memories, but either way, it led to the death of Eren's mother, Carla, because she got eaten. And yeah, it just becomes a mess. And it looks like Eren, Mikasa, and Armin are all in confinement right now. They're in prison, which technically they should be, because they did try to launch a revolt against Levi, so they need to be punished by that. In fact, Hanji in the previous episode said, even though you're sorry for it, doesn't make up for what you did. So you still need to be punished. So I guess they're going to be kept in confinement, which Eren technically was anyway when he joined the Survey Corps. So nothing's changed with Eren, but now Mikasa and Armin's added to the case. And Armin's now a Titan too. So, and judging from the preview, we got things to work out in Trust, because everybody's in the uniform when it comes to Levi and company. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens to Armin, Mikasa, and Eren. By the way, Mikasa totally looks different with the hair tied back. I think we haven't. That's the first time we've seen that since the flashback, if I recall. Either way, we we go back into the flashback, and everybody's turning into Titans. It becomes a free for all. The one guy that actually helps out Grisha looks like he's like stalling to like keep up the interrogation, but what he's really doing is sparing Grisha for becoming a Titan, because it turns out he's a Titan himself. He kicks off the chubby guard and he's about to do the same thing to Grisha, to inject him with as a Titan. But before he gets betrayed and kicked off the wall, he kind of reveals like it's because of our nature to want to see this. It's like Grisha's like, don't you have any remorse for what you've done? And this guy pretty much has the goal to say, if it were my family, of course I would have remorse. But because it's not, because it's interesting, we want to see cruelty, because in times of peace, we're kind of programmed that way, I guess. which is really a morbid way of looking at it. But technically, there are some people who are like that in real life, unfortunately. But so it kind of gets enjoyment out of this. So he doesn't have any sympathy. Before he injects Grisha with the spinal fluid, he gets kicked off the top of the wall himself. And that's just where we get the reveal that this guard turns out to be a Titan himself, because this is how you awaken your powers. He cuts himself, turns into a Titan. And despite the hair change, the design really does look like Aaron's Titan form. So I don't know if there's a connection there, but just look at the form, just look at it, looks very similar. But either way, that's how the episode ends. And I guess they're going to have a lot more insight into his character in the next episode. And apparently there's more reveals to come, judging from the preview. So I can't wait for that. My gosh, this was a humdinger of an episode when it comes to like the revelation of finally the truth of what's gone on. Zeki being a long lost child or son of Grisha. So this is going to make the next reunion between the two that much more awkward and that much more impactful. So I can't wait to see that. Those are my thoughts. Please tell me yours in the comments. That's going to do it for today, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Like this review if you did. Subscribe channel for more Attack on Titan. Catch you guys later. Thanks, guys. Bye.